beautiful day in the neighborhood. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? Hey everybody. It's good to be here. Listen, last week we ended the show. I gotta find some stuff. I am, of course, just coming out of a homegoing celebration for yet another person who unfortunately was killed at the hands of someone else. And I never want this to be routine. I really can't stand social media right now because Meta AI comes up every time I'm looking for a page.
Oh, yeah, because they made that part of the search button.
Yeah, they're supposed to be pulling back a little bit on it from what I read because of so many complaints, because you just can't find anything. Okay, so I never want, nope, yep, that's me. I never want,
Not it's me.
that's me, that's what I was looking for. There I am. I never want homicides to be routine with me. Or for anybody to ever think that this is, and I'm not saying that anybody does. I can't share for some reason. It's important. And so every homicide service, every single one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, have all been held here. And although I enjoy funerals because I told you before, it is a time when I'm able to help families who are grieving to somehow, like the mom today, bring a smile to their face even in their hardest days. It is ridiculous how much, and I know the numbers are down. People could talk about the numbers. I'm not talking about numbers. I'm talking about real lives. How many lives are lost at our own hands?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. And if anybody thinks that's acceptable, shame on them, because we have it hard enough as it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, we under the 8 ball, behind the 8 ball, whatever. It's really tough to be African American, especially in this region, in which progress is very slow. Setbacks are at all-time highs. I got to watch the documentary called, I think it's We're Still Here, by the former poet laureate.
Yes, Jillian Hainsworth.
Yeah, and she got a Emmy.
Yes, her and the director, who's also from this area.
Yeah, that was big. But part of what she put, and if you haven't saw it, it's on YouTube. If you can't find it on YouTube, because if you put in "We're Still Here," a lot of other stuff comes on. I did put a link to it on my Facebook. But she talks about in this documentary, short documentary, like 3 minutes long, about life in 716.
Yes.
And it I don't know what I did. It can be, there we go. It can be tough. So I know we're not different than any other urban area, but we have so many, and I don't mean to be gloom and doom. We'll talk about something really nice in a minute. We've got so many challenges, from weather to, and it's in her documentary, to the top shooting, to being, we just got a lot of challenges. So when you see people of color taking the lives of people of color, regardless, it's wrong.
Absolutely.
It's wrong whether it's white or black, but it is like, geez, we got a lot against us. We spent a whole year protesting about police killing us. Spent a whole year, almost a year, well, many months. And like everything else, then it goes to radio silence.
Absolutely.
when it comes to us. I read, and check this out. I don't know if you saw this article, and then I want to talk about Gail, about the cannabis growing farm in South Buffalo that's not even open yet,
Yes.
and how much they sold it for.
No, I didn't see the article. But
Oh my goodness. Tens of millions of dollars, and it's not even open. So Rocco Termini's son
right, I
was,
remember was
was
part of
building it.
Yes.
And I remember saying to Rocco, wow, your son is going to make millions. And he said, looked at me and said, no, my son's going to make billions.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't make billions, but he certainly got made tens of millions of dollars, right? And I'm not putting, let me just say this. All I'm talking about is the economics.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about overall economics of how far behind we still are. And our concentration and our children deserve to see more than killing and fighting and us just fighting one another,
Right.
to seeing progress and measurable progress and understanding that there is life
Yeah.
beyond Buffalo. But even within Buffalo, I would love to see that. And Ross Jamo and I talk about this all the time in the Army and creating. And I think we're all many are trying to do that.
Do something.
But
yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah, and like you said, it's the life, because it's life beyond the next house party. It's life beyond going
there
to
you
sit
go.
at the next bar.
Yeah,
It's life
yeah.
beyond hanging on the corner.
Yeah.
It's the life. What else can I be doing to accomplish something and that not only changes my life, but changes the generation or my other family members that are
Absolutely.
along with me? And that's where I think a lot of people are. I want to create an avenue so I can show this generation something different, so then that way when they procreate, it's not, oh, well, this is all I know. All I
Yep.
know is Humboldt Parkway and
Yep.
blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I don't see anything else. So, yeah, I did experience traveling out the country. That's why I give even my children's mother all the credit in the world, because my kids have been to Africa. They've been on cruises. Hey, listen, what do you need? Because I'd rather my kids get that experience than just sit in the house or just
Absolutely.
do anything that keeps them ordinary.
Yeah. We the church is going to Ghana in October.
Yes.
And we've made the decision to sponsor fully paid 2 youth
Yes.
to go and I couldn't figure it out. It was the youth leaders that figured out an essay of what they have to write, of why they feel they should be chosen, and then how they're going to come back and what would they present.
Absolutely.
So that others their age are able to see it.
And that's old school.
Yeah. Because we used to have to,
Yep.
when we went to like YPC, Young People's Congress or something like that, we had to come back
with a
and do a
report.
report.
Yep.
And pictures and all that kind of stuff and what we learned and what we learned in classes.
Yep.
So we're going back old school because although it's going to cost us, I think it's about $5,000 per child. I'm going to raise the money. True Bethel and friends have been wonderful in helping us to do things, but I know we'll raise, because I got to send a chaperone with them
Right.
and 2 young people, so I got to raise $15,000. But I'm going to raise that $15,000
Absolutely.
because I want kids, and I don't care where they live in Orchard Park, as long as they're connected to here and they've been active, we'll take 2 up so that they are able to see, first of all, the motherland, but just outside of here.
Absolutely.
Have a passport.
Yes.
All those type of things that some people take for granted. So, so it's just a lot of pressure here. And I don't know, I think I woke up this morning in a little bit of I knew I was coming to bury the young man. Usually I can deal with that because I know my mission. But we don't I know I sound like this dude in a bad mood today. We don't get as much sun as different places. It's a lot.
Yes,
So then add to it little girls getting killed, little boys getting killed and stuffed in attics and all that kind of stuff. You just go like, so I think I need a vacation.
I think, like you said, absolutely. But I think, like you said, I think it's because at a certain point, who stops and say, hey, what are we doing?
Yeah,
And like you said, it is the outcry, as we saw in other communities. It's the outcry of the elders. It's the outcry of the men. Because we, like you said, we talked about it before. The women love to put the women, the emotion on the display. But when is the outcry coming from the men? Like, stop
it.
The OGs, like the ones that already lived the street life.
Yes.
When do they get together, band together? This is enough. We already have the track record of what this looks like and where this can go. You don't have to go down that path.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it.
So that's a great lead into a service we have here tomorrow. And we talked a little bit about Gail at the close of the show. Yep. And last week, she was still with us. And since then, she has transitioned on. A matter of fact, last week when we talked about her, Janique was at the hospital, went to the hospital and played a portion of us talking about her, I believe to her daughter. And so tomorrow she's going to be funeralized from here, 10 a.m. Wake and then 11 a.m. service. And her viewing today is at the Ellen Core Funeral Home on Kensington from 7:30 to 9:30. But I'm just going to read a little bit, and whoever wrote this for the Challenger did a phenomenal job. So if you have never heard of Gail Wells was larger than life. She was she was as comfortable receiving the highest honor from the University of Buffalo School of Architecture and Urban Design as she was accepting an award from the local Kwanzaa committee or delivering free planting beds to the Black community in her crusade to educate and promote food sustainability in her community. As beautiful as she was intelligent, as outspoken and unapologetically Black as she was universal in her thought, Gail made her mark on this journey called life, impacting countless people, especially the young, with her creativity, her Afrocentricity, and her vision. A social justice advocate, she worked to eliminate food insecurity in her community. She savored sharing life, giving knowledge, and did all she could in her own way over the past several years to educate, expose, and prepare Black people to be able to grow healthy food and sustain themselves in preparation for what she saw as an uncertain, frightening world future. So I met Gail she lived in Ellicott, right on Ferry. She was on Clinton. She was actually on her way out. Is it Clinton or William?
It's Clinton.
She lived on Clinton?
Yep. Right across from the ocean.
I always thought she was on this side. So Gail, I met her when they were talking about building the supermarket downtown and the apartments. So we're at the library for the meeting. They were going to do, in the beginning, all market rate apartments. And I was freaking out. And I'm like, how are we going to sell city property and put market rate apartments that people won't be able to live in or afford who are from the city? Gail kind of disagreed with me. And let me tell you why. So she comes up to me and she goes, she was worried that if we put affordable housing, that it would affect other affordable housing projects negatively. Mm-hmm. So she was concerned about Shiloh and all that. And I go, ma'am, no, we need more. And I was able to convince her, Gail, one of the things it says, she's never at a loss for words. Never. And what I'm going to talk about tomorrow is let the words of my mouth. But she would listen as much as she would debate you and go for it. Mm-hmm. And she would then kind of listen. And sometimes I was able to change her mind. Sometimes she was able to change my mind.
Absolutely.
But we had love for each other, and she loved this community. So when we talk about, Gail wasn't silent on the issues that were important to her.
Never.
And she wasn't silent about being a Black woman. Mm-mm. And she puts me in the mind of my godmother, who I saw the other day, Bilal, this justice and wanting people to live good lives, because she had a good life. She had had one of the built from the ground up houses, took care of her community, took care of her gardens, took care of other people. Every year I would give her money from discretionary from Ellicott to plant flowers out. And maybe that's what I'm thinking, William. She would plant the flowers in Medium at William and take care of them. So she was concerned. She was in the fight for against at one point for the Tim Hortons, because she was afraid of that.
That's the story I was going to.
Go ahead.
So I remember sitting in some of those meetings, and they were fighting because of, that was their neighborhood, Coppertown Block Club. That was their neighborhood. And I remember, because she was one of the ones standing up front going at the developer. And I remember finally pulling her aside and said, Gail, they're not asking for city money. This is their property, blah, blah, blah. Fight for what you can get out of it. And she was like, oh, we could do that? I was like, yeah. So next thing you know, she was like, hey, we want black art in there. We want this. We want it to look like this. And then it changed the whole scope of the project.
And she got what she wanted.
Absolutely.
She was concerned about traffic and where traffic would come out. So what you see right now is the fighting of Gail Wells when you go into Tim Hortons.
And she also did like you said, not only the planning at the Jesse Clipper Park, she also did the Michigan block.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So she'll be missed.
And she was a great friend, of course, our radio station owner, Sheila. And Marie Collins says that her niece works at Challenger. Well, whoever wrote this, they should have gave them credit somewhere in this, because you can go back and you can read it. But here's the question. When we talk about Gail and others like her, is that level of advocacy gone or leaving as they move on? We saw the thing about, and I get Black Lives Matter, totally agree with Black Lives Matter, that Black lives do matter. But this generation fought, and Gail was still relatively young. I'm more referring to the George K. Arthurs. They fought until death for justice, for our people to be better. It wasn't like we see now, these little kind of moments in time.
I was getting ready to say, I think where we are at is because I would put Gail with Stephanie Jeter.
Okay.
And that
good example.
That thought of, no, we're on the ground, we're fighting, we're going to get what we want, and like you said, sometimes even to the death. I'm just going to keep fighting. I'm going to fight. And I think now we get caught up in and again, we can use it now, but I think it gets caught up too much in social media. So now I'm all about social media bites and the quick sound bite and the media. But then it's like, oh, I didn't get it. All right, well, on to the next issue.
Right.
Or I just get frustrated and give up. But that level of perseverance is, I think, the dying art.
And I think you make a good point about social media. I think one of the things that makes fighting for our people difficult now is fighting with your people.
Yeah.
While you're fighting for your people.
Right.
And you look back at, whoever, like you said, Stephanie, you look back at Gail, they fought for their people. And I don't think they had to fight against their people as much.
Not as much.
It becomes a fight against each other for whatever the issue is. And I think it just dissipates. And so I think those who desire to possess our community, possess the land, possess everything that we should be possessing, I know they love it. They love the fact that at times we can lose sight of the big picture,
right, and
hold on to meaningless fights that turn against each other. I've said this 1,000 times. Regardless of what you feel about the 33, keep it on the subject of the 33.
Absolutely.
And not on this person. It's like the national race right now for president. I'm going to be honest with you. I am so sick and tired of turning on the national news to hear about Trump and Biden.
Yep. And whatever Biden it is now.
Whatever Biden it is now, whatever Trump has said. And you just go like, we got real problems.
Yes.
And maybe we're not Ukraine. Maybe we're not. Obviously, we're not Ukraine. Obviously, we're not. Palestine. But we got problems.
Yes.
And that's national, but local. I think the Gale will. I don't know. I think we're losing that amount of advocacy that is going to work together
Right.
toward a solution. And I agree with you, Mark. I think that a lot of people just want, how many people and views can I get?
Yes.
And we know, for a fact that the algorithms advance negativity.
Yes, they do.
So if I am positive and I am looking for a solution, because even the 33, truthfully, I think that there are solutions. If people would just get together,
Right.
and say, okay, if we can't do this, can we do what else can we do?
And I think that's how we got to this final proposal was, and I do believe Rock's initial thought was, hey, we're going to fight to fill it in, restore the parkway. Powers that be said no, but this is what we can do. And I think, like you said, so it's like, hey, I might not get everything I want, but at least it's covered. At least I get my trees. At least I get my park space back and everything else. So I think, and even once we got to that, it was still, but we don't like this. Okay, well, let's come back with this. And it was still always that. There was meetings for years. We were going about, don't like this change. Let's add this. Oh, let's do this study. Let's add this. And there was always that back and forth. And again, didn't get the original proposal that they proposed 30 years ago, but you kept fighting to get something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what, I look at now, and whether we want to say it or not, now kind of in some people's minds, other new people who are moving to Buffalo are the problem now.
Yes.
That, they taking this, they're doing that, they're doing this. But we sold it, and we didn't buy, and now the prices are out of the roof. I believe you probably could buy, your taxes might be higher, but I believe you could probably buy something a little cheaper outside of Buffalo. If you're willing to drive, and we're so spoiled in Buffalo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We don't want to drive more than 5 minutes.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
anything. But if you're willing to drive 20 minutes, you could probably get double of the house right now that you can get in the city.
Oh, I'm sure.
And land.
Oh, I'm sure.
But we don't. I mean, we got harsh winters. But if I were looking,
listen, I don't know. I had to coach at a game last night, in the first ring, and I was just like, it's so quiet. It's so peaceful. Everybody's just out walking their dog, watering the grass, and I was just like, you do it. You're like, man, this is, and it's not like you said 20 minutes away. This is only about 5 minutes over the borderline. You're just like, wow.
If you're willing to drive, and I'm not advocating for leaving the city. I live in the city. Absolutely. I'm not advocating. What I'm saying is we got to pull ourselves together. Absolutely. And that's why I've been on this for over a year. My role at this point in my life is peace, harmony, pulling people together. I have fought the battles. I'm not, I'll never say I won't fight another battle, but I'll just tell you this right now. If it's not peaceful, right, and I can't pull people together, it's probably something I don't want to be a part of, because I think that we have been taught how to fight. We've been taught how to hate. And so you have people like Gail, you mentioned Stephanie, who fought hard for her community, but they also fought for their people.
Yes.
Like, this is the biggest thing they fought. I go back to our ancestors, and I know they're raising the flag right now. I think the Juneteenth flag for next week. People like Beverly Gray, who Beverly was a strong advocate. And I mean, everybody who knew her closer than me, I buried her. She was a friend of mine. I felt as a friend of mine. But I just didn't see nastiness coming out of her to get what she desired. And she was an at-large board member, I believe. She was. Yes, because we had 3 at-large. She was an at-large. She fought for her people.
Yes, sir.
And at the end of the day, we have to be unashamed to say we've gotten the short end of the stick, but we also, like you said, we got to be the OGs, got to be honest. That's why in these funerals I talk about the real stuff. Like your son is here, it's ridiculous. Your dad, these men are leaving children behind. At the end of the day, you got to be able to say this is ridiculous.
Absolutely,
it's ridiculous because the people who making the real money for real, they not making this 50,000 a year, 80,000, 100. They're making millions. So the stores that are opening, they gonna make money.
Absolutely.
They ain't making what the growers. They're not making. And when the federal government, now that they have changed, that they're changing the classification, and if the federal government ever says, okay, this is legal, and you're able to use banks,
changes the game.
We're missing it. We're missing it, and we got to say it.
Because like you said, once that happens, then that whole industry can become public on the stock market. Oh yeah.
We're not participating. We're not participating. We're going to get ready to go over to the station and pay the bills because that's how we stay on because of Brian K. Lewis and Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning. I'm coming over to you in 3, 2, 1.
When it comes to something as personal as your clothes, you need to deal with somebody you can trust. That's why so many people turn to Hobson's Dry Cleaning, conveniently located in the heart of the community at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming.
When you take your clothes to Hobson's, you can trust that they'll be ready on time.
You can trust that your whites will be white.
You can trust that you'll always get a fair price and service with a smile.
You can even trust that you won't have to get out of your car if you don't want to. Hobson's has a drive-through window for your convenience.
Trust is what it's all about at Hobson's Dry Cleaning.
Hobson's Dry Cleaning, your one-stop dry cleaners serving the community for over 30 years at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming. Call 891-8298. That's 891-8298.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home has 3 locations to serve you in Buffalo. 347 Peckham, 2258 Bailey Avenue, and Providence Memorial Chapel at 1275 Sycamore. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes offers traditional services, and they have services for all faiths. And at Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, they have air-conditioned parlors and chapels. Financing is available, as is limousine service. At those difficult moments in your life, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes is available where you are with counseling services. Call toll-free 877-885-7734. That's 877-885-7734. Or locally 845-5545. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. We are here to serve you, here to serve this present age. Call today, toll-free 877-885-7734. Or email info@brianklewisfuneralhome.com.
Yeah, so we're back, but yeah, we got to get it together. And one of the places we're going to miss, and so mad about this. So, you know, Elon Musk is not even paying attention anymore to Tesla.
No, I'm sure all he cares about is X right now. So
It's not even that. It's the space program. You know, he has a space program.
Oh, yes, he launched today, didn't he?
I don't know if he launched again today, but he's been launching. It's the space program. He didn't say forget these cars. Like he stopped making the superchargers. Now he's going to go back and make some, but Elon Musk doesn't care, and my car ain't going to be worth nothing. But here's the point. The latest report this week, he's putting in all this money in the AI. He wants to be ahead of the AI market. And so he didn't basically say, forget y'all Teslas.
Oh, absolutely.
Forget it.
Especially after they dropped that ugly supercharger. I can't stand the way that thing looks.
Supercharger.
The gray tank looking.
Oh, no. That's not a supercharger. You're talking about the truck.
Yeah, I thought it's called a supercharger.
The supercharger is what we use for, let me see.
What's the name of it?
Tesla truck. Hold on, Cybertruck is called.
Oh, Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Either way, it's ugly.
It's ugly, but listen. The man is going to AI, and we keep talking about AI on this show. Mm-hmm. You can go to Northland and you can learn how to be an electrician, and you should.
Absolutely.
And you should learn how to be a plumber, and you should learn how to because buildings are always going to be built.
Yes.
The money is about to be in this AI.
Yep.
And then it's going to be big money, and then it's going to be no money because it'll get replicated and duplicated.
Absolutely.
And the Chinese and everybody else is going to take it over, and we're going to lose jobs. And so if you don't know how to deal with AI or program, even if all of us going to deal with AI,
Oh,
we
at
are
some
dealing with
point.
it right now.
Absolutely.
We're all dealing with it right now. Artificial intelligence is here. It's in our face.
And let's be honest. In some circles, artificial intelligence has been on the scene, and because don't think some movies and things were all lies. Like militaries and governments have been using artificial intelligence for years. So let's not. It's just getting down to where the common person. can use
that
it.
we can use it.
Yeah.
Tesla, as a matter of fact, now has a police cruiser. Tesla Cybertruck police cruiser gets official unveil, deploys this year. On Friday morning, Unplugged Performance officially launched its police cruiser outfitted Cybertruck after it was teased in a brief video. Now, I don't know who's going to buy this thing, but somebody will. Somebody will.
That's got to be small town municipality, because I can't see trying to navigate around a winterized city, and you got to power computers and all this other beyond what's in the Tesla already. Then you got to empower radios and computers. That's oof.
Well, some of the the Mustang is electric.
Yes.
Some of Florida's state police are now in the Mustang EV. So it's just times are changing. I pull all this together with saying that if we're not ahead of the curve, we're way behind.
Still behind.
And so in our communities, if we're going to fight for anything, it needs to be so that our education system is ahead of the curve. These high schoolers right now are using AI to do papers and update resumes and to do all that. But I want to see more than them taught how to use it.
But programming.
How do you get in it? How do you, as one guy said, I think you remember I was teaching a class and for Full Gospel, and he said, I don't want a piece of the cake.
Right.
He said, I want the whole recipe.
Yeah. He said, I don't want the piece. I don't want the cake. I want the recipe. And that's the thing. Like, how do we get in to build program and everything else? Like, it's great that tech hubs and everything are coming to Western New York. But if the tech hub is just coming to train you to be in a job, then you're just perpetuating the problem, because the technology is ever increasing. So if you just keep saying, okay, well, this is the tech manufacturing training for this job, but you're still not saying, but this is how you build your own AI, we're still 5 years behind the curve.
Still 5 years. And those are the things at this point in my life that I want to leave a legacy of pushing us into an avenue, where we live better and we get ahead.
Yes.
Because I think the Bible is clear. I ain't come here to preach, but when it says what's causing all these arguments and fights among you, and it says you want what you don't have, and you steal and you plot and you kill to get it, and instead of going to God who could give it to you, but you don't even do that. So at the end of the day, I think if we don't look ahead and we don't have these kind of conversations about whether it's AI, whether it's education, I'm so proud. Several of the young people at True Bethel within the last year have gotten their PhDs.
Yes.
But they also came from families that pushed them,
Absolutely.
supported. And I think that where we were talking about OGs and just family, saying something about illegal activity, of saying to nephews and nieces who have potential, every one of those kids out there, young people or young adults, almost all of them have at least one person that they'll listen to.
Absolutely.
If you say something.
Absolutely.
That causes their conscience to go, or at least they're not going to do it in your presence.
Right.
But I think that we have to be able to say that we're losing here.
Yeah. Yeah. And But the problem is you say it all the time. You can't be the one to correct if you're also the one supporting.
Right.
So
or being supported by
them. Yeah. So you can't say, "Hey, man, you really shouldn't be standing on the corner selling no product," but then you like, "Hey, but bring me that eighth when you."
Right.
You can't be on both sides of the equation.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's a changing time. But we have to be ahead of this curve. You know, I think about now, even the staff that I need. I don't need the same amount of staff because at the end of the day, AI can write the letters. Where I used to file everything by manual, we're updating all our systems now to scan. So I get something, I can scan it right there from my desk, and it's automatically in the file.
Yes.
I used to have to go up front to get a member's record. I don't have to do that anymore. I turn to my computer, bam, from anywhere I'm at, it's already there. You send me a letter, invite me somewhere. More than likely, I done told AI to write me a letter back to, Tupelo, Mississippi, that unfortunately I'm not able to do it. And it's going to do it with the perfect grammar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And learns your style. And times are changing. Every industry, I think, is about to be affected greatly.
Absolutely.
By mechanics. The factory we have on Delavan that is making these huge batteries for Verity. They make these batteries that has this patent that batteries can overheat.
Yes.
And that's what you see like in a Tesla crash. It's usually these batteries, and when those things come together, if two Teslas, and they've shown, crash each other. If you in a crash, you don't want to be electric vehicle because there can be an explosion. Because these batteries heat up so hot.
That makes sense.
But Verity, they have people, and I want to say big ups to the owner of Verity. They have all these people from the hood who work there.
Oh, I know.
And they were making the batteries by hand, the packets that hold the batteries. And now I was in there the other day, all machines. But the people, he's still employing people.
Right.
But they're learning, and this is the prime example. The ones who I saw sitting there, putting a battery into this patent system so that it doesn't overheat,
right,
is now they're training them how to run the computers,
right,
and there are arms that are now doing the job.
Work. Yeah,
but these young men and young ladies,
and women,
are learning the computer systems now of how to maintain the speed. So I went in there the other day, and they were running them at a slow speed. And I said, why aren't you running them at full capacity? And they're like, because we're training the machine not to miss. Because it might be, I don't know, 10 batteries in a pack, and sometime it only put 8. So it's like, so we're slowing it down.
Wow.
And then when it misses, we look at the program.
Right.
And then these are people from Stevens and
Norfolk and Northumberland. And the only reason why I know that is because we're doing some work for the traffic over there. And I went and scoped it out. And I saw people coming back from lunch.
Yep.
Right from Norfolk.
Yep.
Right from Northumberland.
Yep.
And so I know the residents are literally right on the side street.
Yeah, and we got to celebrate that.
Yes,
and we have
absolutely.
to celebrate situations like that, because this man could have taken those workers and said, I don't need you.
Right.
I got machines that could do
Absolutely.
it. And went out to the suburbs and found somebody. He actually, person who is one of the tops in human resources, somebody from Stop the Violence. I don't have the permission to put their business out there. But my point is, he knows the people who really want to work and trying to get out of the game. And one of the smartest guys who are over there working right now literally walked into that job and said this: I'll sweep the floors. I'm just trying to get off. I don't want to be on the street.
Absolutely.
This dude is on the computers right now. So that's the point of having, and I'll say it, Giles is involved in it, of having somebody who can speak to young people and say, hey, it's a job over here. And what John has going on at Verity is he is actually, like, they're bringing in people to help young people keep their job.
Right.
So that if you got babysitting problems, it ain't like, oh, you out. We can't use you.
Right, and so far, because there's another company, and I don't want to take the attention off of them, but like Harmac was the same thing.
Yeah.
Purposely
Yep.
changed that whole Bailey East
Yep.
Ferry and hiring, and really changed that whole community, even with the lots across the street and trying to bring
Yeah.
other stuff to change that dynamic. But if you remember, I believe, and we've been, of course, the conversation goes farther back than that, but even with I think the early proposal of ARP was supposed to be, how do you do not just workforce development, but fund the soft skills and the social services that coincide with the workers we're trying to upskill. Because
Yeah.
like you said, the difficult thing isn't sometimes somebody working, but it's like, okay, how do you take that mother or father
Yes.
who has to like, okay, well, I got to leave at 1 to pick up
Right.
my kids off the bus,
Right.
or I don't have anyone to watch my kids to get there by 9
Absolutely.
a.m. How do you help those situations out?
And it's okay to talk about Harmac. One of the best employers in recent years has been Wegmans.
Yes. Yep.
Wegmans, who, you sick, they like stay home.
Yes.
You going to school, all right, let's work around your schedule.
Yep.
And it is those type of companies, I believe, that help a community. When they're located in the community, it's even better. Now,
Absolutely.
that's the only thing about Wegmans. They're not in the community. But at the end of the day, they are still a huge employer
Right.
of African Americans, of people of color, and they get rave reviews
Yes,
from their
still best
employees.
employers.
The Verity, reason I bring them up is because a lot of people don't know what's happening in
Right.
that building, and this man is continuing to expand, and so they're making basically what they make over there are generators that are run by battery instead of gas
Battery.
and diesel.
That's crazy.
And it's a little diesel in there so that when the battery runs out, now it's a complicated type of little situation, but you're not burning diesel
Consistently.
fuel and all of that. So it's a green item. And if you walk in there, you would never, because that place was empty. It was abandoned.
yeah.
It was a mess. And you walk in there, and I'm talking about the attitude of all employees. I'm sure somebody doesn't have a good attitude, but I'm going to just tell you this. You don't walk in there and it's not like you in a plant where everybody mad that they're there.
Yeah.
These guys are speaking to one another. They're joking around. I went in there the other day, and one of the guys, so it's like 4 guys sitting together. I think they were on break. He's like, Prince, come over here and tell them the story of East Ferry, because these young boys don't know nothing about
Wow,
how you bought it,
yeah.
right? So we over there talking, but their attitudes when they're working is just pleasant to be around. And so it is places like that, but we have to have the opportunity,
Yes.
but we need the push.
Yes.
We need the push. And I think as adults, we have to start making negativity an anomaly. Like we doing positive here. And the one thing that I do like about this generation now is, when they talk about positive vibes and all that kind of stuff, I love that, because end of the day, if we're going to get ahead, if we're going to catch up,
Right. Absolutely.
if we're going to catch up, we are going to have to start opening our mouths. We are going to have to start saying about activity that is killing us,
Right.
about, people are killing us, because people, I'd said last week or the week before, police can't solve all these crimes. And I get it.
Right.
If you're living in the hood, in a certain neighborhood, and you know things, and that fear, especially with some of the reforms,
Right,
and
right.
it's tough. Mm-hmm. It's tough. But if you can't do that, then at least what you can do is push somebody else.
And I think, because even just talking back to the job, I think the big word and even coaching wise and on the job, I think the big word I keep using is culture. Mm-hmm. And if we can create positive culture, then it goes from just beyond a vibe, because a vibe can come and go.
Yes,
it's just
yes.
like an emotion.
Yes.
But if it starts at one block club, or if it starts at a house and they create a block club, and that culture for the job and the neighborhood changes, then, like you said, it becomes an anomaly. So when that one bad house comes on the block,
Yeah.
you're like,
Yep.
no.
Yep.
The culture of this street doesn't call for that.
Yep.
And then you force them out. We talked about University Heights a lot, because No, they created a culture. They tell you, oh no, we don't want that business over there.
That's right.
So
That's right.
And they come right to council. They come right
Absolutely.
to wherever. We don't want that kind of business. And I think the more we start to build these cultures, like you said, that's how you create the anomaly that stays even when you decide to move out the neighborhood or move to a different job.
Yep, because you got like Hamlin Park.
Yep.
Hamlin Park, there's certain things just ain't going on in Hamlin Park.
And some people come and gone.
They come and go because those neighbors over on Donaldson Road, Hamlin Road, going over to where Stephanie lives, over by Canisius, they stick together.
Sure do.
And it's like, no, you're not going to bring. I got a house right now next door to me. Grass up to your knees. Now, I didn't talk to this guy several times. Hey, man, I know y'all been working on this house for 4 years, by the way.
4 years.
4 years. They show up, they work for like 3 days, and then you don't see them anymore. 3 days, maybe 3. Grass all along. Nice guy. The last time I had a conversation with him, he was like, I wanted to be mad. And he was like, no, you're right. You're right. So he came back, cut the grass, and guess where he left all of the tall grass? Right there.
Right there.
But now here's crazy, because when I moved on that street, I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And I've been pleasantly surprised that the majority of the neighbors on that block, they take care of their stuff.
Right.
They really do. They got flowers outside. Kids are fairly well behaved. I'd never, I don't hear gunshots and all that kind of stuff. Ain't nobody standing on the corners. So there is a culture there.
Right. And
then you get somebody who buys a house at auction and come and work for 3 days. And I remember one of my neighbors said, well, Fred, you think we should cut his lawn? I'm like, I'm not cutting I'm not cutting another grown man's lawn who won't come and cut his own. I call the city and let him come and find him.
Absolutely.
And let the city cut it and give him a fine.
Absolutely.
And I'll do that all day. But I'm not cutting somebody who's capable. If it was a senior,
absolutely,
I go cut it myself.
That's different.
Someone who is differently able, I'm all in. I will cut it myself. But what I'm not gonna do is, because you got too many houses that you didn't bought, and you can't keep these houses up, and you think because you don't live in it that you can leave it and I'm gonna clean it up. Nah, it ain't gonna happen.
No, absolutely
not in this lifetime. But that culture for our people is so important. Today, the raising, usually I'd be live. Obviously, I was council member there. The raising of the Juneteenth flag and the pride that we have. So we close. I want to close on a positive note, because there are still some activists. Whether you, I want to boost the activists who work toward a change.
Right.
And there are many out there, and some of them you don't know.
Absolutely.
And you bring up a good example. I talked about Gail. There's others in the Ellicott District. Eva Doyle is an activist.
Yes.
And the way she's an activist is educating children, educating us on our history. An activist doesn't necessarily mean you out in the street with a sign, but it means you are actively pursuing some sort of change in a community. You are actively doing that. You're using your resources. You're using your voice. You're using your platform. I think that Betty Jean is an activist. She has her way. She uses her platforms for what it is. Her daughter, activists, they're using their platforms. And at the end of the day, whether you agree with them or not,
absolutely,
they're using their voices. And you're just not going to hear me in this season of my life. If I don't have something positive to say, I don't have nothing to say. So these are the activists, and I pray that as the next generation takes the reins of leadership, that they won't be silent, but they work toward how do we, this was my whole thing of the 12 years on the council, years on school board. I always wanted to be that one. How do we bring people together?
Absolutely.
And sometimes that agitated people because they wanted me to be, and I do pick a side. You got to pick a side sooner or later with your vote. But I've always tried to be the type of person, let's listen to each other.
Absolutely.
Let's see where we can compromise and bring things together. The tough part is some people feel like there's always got to be winners and losers instead of everybody winning a little bit.
Yeah. And everybody losing
a little bit. Franzak used to say, you know that you have written a great law if everybody is unequally happy,
Absolutely.
unhappy, because it's like, okay, at least we did something.
Absolutely. And I was getting ready to say, because in my 7 years with you, there was some up and comers, and I'll tell you who did a good job in hiring them was Partnership for Public Good. Like they're still fighting in Buffalo or New York State, because a lot of them don't even fight in Buffalo. And they're going to Albany, which, like we always talk about, is where some of the real fights are. It's not literally a local law; it's state law that has to be changed. So, like you said, to give kudos to those that
Katrina Martin DeBoer, Bordeaux, she's on.
Yeah, so it's we see you, and we appreciate that you're
absolutely
fighting.
and that's what I wanted to say. We at the end of the day, folks, whether you support somebody who's active or not, try to keep it on the issue.
Absolutely.
Instead of the personality.
Absolutely.
And be grateful that there are still people who have a platform and who have opinions. Because this United States of America, we don't all have to agree on everything, but where we tear it up, baby, where we tear it up, brother, is when the issue becomes each other.
Yeah.
And then we all lose, period. And others, y'all might not believe it, they sitting in the wings.
Absolutely.
They're waiting
Waiting
to take this over.
Yep.
And they're waiting so that other folks get the jobs and the opportunities, and the direction gonna change. We get it together.
And like you, and like again to the point, because at some point, and we talk about them, we learn about them. Even Malcolm and Martin had to meet and say, hey, I'll be the bad guy. You go do the Washington and the politic thing. I'll be the bad guy, and that's how we're going to change this, change our people.
Malcolm said, by any means necessary.
By any means necessary.
And Martin said, I have a dream. Oh, I'm unplugged.
See, you doing the same.
Yeah, I have a dream. And they, yeah. So listen, I don't know. Everything is just, I need to go take a nap. I really
We get to the end of the show stuff.
I need to take a nap. I'm tired. But I'll be here, and I'll be here tomorrow for Gail Wells celebration. And we're going to have a celebration in this place tomorrow for Gail. Listen, I'm going to throw it back over to the station. They pay the real bills. Hobson's, the Dr. Dry Cleaner, 874 East Delavan, and Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home. Thank you for sponsoring our show. Brian had 3 services yesterday, 2 today, picking up people. He's busy in your hour of need. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home. And he ain't bad on that grill either. He did 200 meals for church last week out in Niagara Falls. He made me a slab of ribs. And when I opened up the ribs in the kitchen, whole house, the smoke detector should have went off.
Listen, those ribs.
Those ribs.